Our headline this hour, the mistake by the lake. Well, this is like the legit mistake by the lake. Right? I told the story earlier this week. There was a guy that used to work at this company from Ohio, from Cleveland, and would get so upset he wanted to punch me when I would do jokes about the mistake by the lake. But the real mistake by the lake would be Deshaun Watson's contract extension by the Browns, right? And there are more problems on the horizon, or are there more problems on the horizon? Now, if you didn't see this or hear about it, a story that the NFL would like you to not pay attention to in one of the lingering sexual assault cases against the guy that has the most guaranteed money ever given out in the history of the NFL, Browns creepy quarterback Deshaun Watson. He might have to testify again. You see, all of the cases were not settled. Most of them were settled. Deshaun Watson paid off the women. He cut giant cartoon checks, and the women suddenly decided, you know what, I'm good. I'll take the money. I'm all right, and we'll call it a day. But there is a motion to compel further testimony. I was just reading about this. From Watson, it has been filed now outside of a settlement. So Watson would have to pay off this other woman, or a dismissal of the case, which has not happened. This has been going on for a couple of years. The remaining claims against Watson will be going to trial at some point. We will get a Deshaun Watson trial. And even though he has been suspended for 11 games, it still smells to high heaven here what the NFL did, and with all the allegations and all that. The league has not completely ruled out that they could go back and ding, Deshaun Watson again with further punishment. Now, we don't know what else is going to come out in this case, what other testimony, what kind of evidence will come out in the rest of the case. And I think there's actually more than one. I don't think it's just one. I think there's more than one. And then, of course, you'll have the verdict at some point. So let us discuss. It's rather interesting. The guy with the most guaranteed money in the NFL, not quite out of trouble yet. So where are you at on the possibility of the NFL giving Deshaun Watson extra discipline? Where are you at on that one? So I've got Brussels sprouts, blues legend, and the American Kennel Club. And we will combine all of these things together, and we will make a storm in a teacup is what we're going to make. So, I would actually be surprised if the NFL punishes Watson more. Because they obviously don't really care about this case. They gave him hardly any punishment, considering the volume of claims against Watson and that he just paid everyone off. So why would they now go back? And what could possibly happen that would lead them to punish him more? Right? The way that the man has played for the Cleveland football team is the ultimate torture. He's embarrassing himself. The Browns are the laughingstock of the NFL with this guy at quarterback. And it's all because of the contract they gave him. Think about the fact that Deshaun Watson was outplayed by a guy who was 38 years old at the time, and he was on a lawnmower, and the Browns called him up and said, hey, how would you like to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? And Joe Flacco was like, I don't know. I got the guy on the other line that wants to buy some white walls. I don't know. And he was probably wearing dad jeans when he showed up to Cleveland, and then he all of a sudden became like the main squeeze for the Browns. So that's embarrassing. Now, that said, if the creepy quarterback ends up spilling a lot of tea, then the NFL will be forced to act, because the NFL they'll put their finger in the air everywhere and see how the wind blows, right? They'll see how the wind blows. Now, Watson was able to pay almost everyone hush money, as we said. He's got a lot of money. And so he paid off all the women. He paid off all the attorneys, which is really like one attorney. He just gave a big check to that attorney. But this is the one or two that got away. And Roger Goodell, here's what I see happening. I don't think there'll be any real punishment. Like Goodell, the next round of punishment, here's what it would be. Watson will be forced to get in the happy baby yoga pose, which we know he loves. And he's going to have to eat Brussels sprouts while wearing a diaper. That will be the punishment by the NFL. But I think that's what he already likes with his massages. So I don't think that would be punishment. That would actually be a reward. All right, now page 2 here. Next stop, we go to Cincinnati, where Joe Mixon is loud and he is proud. He's a running back. Joe Mixon. Is his career about to go down in flames? Well, Mixon does not believe the scuttlebutt that he is going to be let go by the Cincinnati football team. There's a rumor bouncing around. He says there's no validity to the chatter that the Bengals are going to say bye-bye and move on from Joe Mixon in the silly season of the NFL. Now, Mixon responding to a rumor site on X regarding speculation about his future not being in Southern Ohio. And he responded to it with a clown emoji on social media. And he said, laughing my ass off. You all said this last year, too. Mixon responded. He then used the hand to the face emoji followed by the laughing emoji. And then he said and then he used the clown emoji behavior. Okay. Those comments aside, how is the forecast looking for Joe Mixon with the Bengals in 2024? So my advice on this side of the microphone is to tread carefully. Tread carefully if you think you are going to be back on the Cincinnati football team, because peeking into my crystal ball, and my crystal ball is never wrong, here's what it's showing me. It's showing me Chicago Blues legend, not the St. Louis Blues, the Chicago Blues legend, Muddy Waters, who's been dead for forever, right? But from a practical standpoint, it's gummy, right? And Joe Mixon is a salary cap dump waiting to happen. It's logical. Teams always use the cap as an excuse when you are no longer the belle of the ball to get rid of you, and they just come up with this fugazi, say, oh, we can't afford you and all that stuff. And, of course, the football media that obsess over the salary cap are like, oh, yeah, see, you got to get rid of this guy and all that. Because we know if Joe Mixon was running the football like a gazelle and was Christian McCaffrey, this would not even be up for conversation. But what happens is either your performance goes down or the team thinks, based on the analytics, your performance is about to go down based on your age. And so there's three things that happen. Number one, he's a running back, so you're easily replaceable, right? Easily replaceable. You go out in the street and grab a guy, he can be the running back. And also, Cincinnati has a guy they drafted last year in the 5th round. I think he's out of Illinois, Chase Brown, who played pretty well, as I remember. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I am a degenerate gambler. We had the TV show, so I paid close attention, and Chase Brown was pretty effective, as I recall. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I recall him having some nice performances, runs here and there for Cincinnati. But Mixon already, the third point is Mixon already took a pay cut last season to stay there. So, A, would the team want him to take another one? Yes. And B, would he be willing to do that 2 years in a row just to stay with Joe Burrow? All right, last word here. We'll go down to Cowboy Land, where star defensive player Micah Parsons, he's not happy. This guy's complaining about something all the time. So he was kvetching about a group of men, he said, that were waiting for him when he got off a flight. He said they all had mini helmets and they had pictures for him to autograph. He also said that a woman was following him around the airport, some random stranger. And then, get out the tiny violin, he says, I hope y'all realize sometimes how much athletes got to hold back. It's a real sob story. So do you have empathy? Do you have empathy for Cowboy defensive star Micah Parsons having to deal with 8 men at an airport who want to get him to autograph mini helmets and pictures, and a random woman who is following him around? So I am shaking my head no in terms of the empathy. Have none. And it fascinates me that Micah Parsons does not realize how bad this looks for him. This is another one of those cringe stories. So you're telling me that you're such a celebrity, that you're such a big deal, that people were trying to get your autograph and they knew you were on a certain flight because somebody told them you were on a certain flight, and they were trying to get your autograph. So, yeah, they're probably going to sell those miniature helmets and those photos to make a couple of bucks, probably so they can put food on their on the table to feed their family, while you are a millionaire who's about to go bonkers with your next contract. So you have a problem with the autograph hound. You have a problem with the autograph hound. Horror of horrors. Tell me you are obtuse without telling me you are obtuse. And while this is a football player, there's an old line from Tinseltown that applies. And it's something that they say in Hollywood about celebrities. A celebrity works all their life, their entire life, to become well-known. They want to be famous. And then the moment that they become famous, the moment that they are stars, they then go through the back streets, they walk out of the back of restaurants, they go through the emergency exits and entrances, and they wear dark glasses, hoping no one will recognize them. And that's Micah Parsons. Like, Micah Parsons, congratulations, Micah. You've arrived, right? You're a big deal in the NFL. You were the MVP. They were comparing you to Lawrence Taylor after 2 weeks. Then they had to play the rest of the games. So I think what we should do is have a bake sale for Micah Parsons of the Cowboys so he can afford the proper help, right? Afford the proper help, because clearly things are running amok. And either that or he can get an endorsement from the American Kennel Club and they can hook him up with a nice therapy dog, right? May we all have these problems where we're such a big celebrity, we've got so much money and so much fame that people are waiting for us when we get off the plane and walk out of the gate so they can get photographs autographed and mini helmets, right? Like, Parsons is pretty lucky he's a good football player because he sounds like a buffoon. Like, I mean, it's good for the show, and I'm grateful for that, but this is so over the top. Such a sob story. It really is. I mean, my God, how does he get out of bed that people want his autograph and that people follow him around at airports because he's famous? It's just wild. It's wild and crazy.